Chapter. I'm not quite sure. So,
May 1st, I think.
there
is
we
the
go.
date.
So you see? I know, we should have done the other thing. I know, it's all good.
Ready to go when you are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's just read that.
No, you're all good.
So, thank you for coming, Tracy.
Thanks for having me.
We kind of wanted, this was a meeting we tried to set up a long time ago, but our schedule thing is really up straight. But we kind of wanted to follow up with you, just to see and hear what some of your ideas and thoughts and comments might be on what we could be doing more of as far as economic development. We are a group, I think, that has a lot of different skill sets around the table, and that has been taking its job of what it is we think our committee's assignments ought to be seriously. And to that point, focusing on the big project in the town of wastewater. So how can we help out with that? And also some the seasonal job employment for the restaurants and businesses in the community. I think some of the other things we're looking at doing and getting involved with is broadband, expanding on that for businesses. So a lot of different things we're trying to promote and work on behind the scenes, or maybe not behind the scenes, but to promote economic development going forward. So, and there are some things that some of us get sidetracked on a little bit with design review and towers. Got us.
Well, equally important though, right,
So,
to town, so.
But so, yeah, so a lot of different things that we get involved with. And Joanne was, as a planning board member, has taken a very active role in the visioning process and planning. So we're kind of tying all that into what we're doing here too. So we're trying to get away from just the old, maybe we got into this habit of promoting these programs through the money that we receive from the state, and do more. So we wanted to hear your thoughts and comments and ideas, and if we can take it to another level, we'll certainly do
I'm
that.
not sure I have ideas. Well, first of all, thank you. I think economic development is certainly something that is extremely important. I think year after year, as at my time on the Board of Selectmen, it's been very, very high on our goals. I hope that I'm not here because of my comments at the meeting. I know I had made comments and that was not a reflection of anything. I think that what ended up happening is when the Tourism Revenue Preservation Fund became just such a significant part of what you did.
Right.
And that's not to anyone's fault here.
Right.
I personally think it should be separate so you guys can stay focused. I think it would be nice to have a subcommittee of this committee and then maybe a final vote of this committee. But when I was on, I guess I can back up. I was also the planning board liaison to this committee when it was first started. Jim Saban had created it. So I think we were still trying to figure out our own way. We did a lot with the planning board though, back then. The hotel motel original bylaw was basically written by Paul Tardif and members of the Community and Economic Development Committee. So we listened to their needs and, we took that and we ran with it. We really undertook the majority of that process. But I think that the mission, and I was reading it again today, just before I came here, the charge of the committee is still, I think, pertinent to what the mission is, right? So everybody knows we need economic development, that all of those things that you spoke of at the onset here, all very important to be moving us forward. The wastewater is clearly something that the business community has said has been a barrier to growth and development. So to the extent that we can help them, I'm not sure what your relationship now is with the planning board in terms of really heavy lifting, listening to the businesses and what they need. One of the things that, and I'm not sure it was a committee thing, but for me personally, one of the things I was really excited about when we went to online permitting was a way to be able to track the nodes, right? So like people come, and we still haven't been able to accomplish that, although that was kind of part of one of the things that we were told that it would accomplish. So if you have 15 business applications a year, that is a small, something that is a continuous no. Like, it would be nice for this committee and the planning board to be able to look at that data and say, okay, maybe this is something we want to look at. So things like that was what,
Some part of that is captured in the annual report though, but I think this is building permits. I don't know.
I think she's talking about one-stop shopping type of thing and focusing in on it, making it easier, less, more streamlined process.
No, I know, but so some
yeah,
sort
but
of
permit-
to
for the
capture in
permitting,
time,
that-
like what
that
kind.
also I think is extremely important. I know
Okay.
sometimes, I know, first of all, we didn't have Kyle. You know,
Don't lose
I
them.
think that the town made a great choice and showed its business community how important it was to them by hiring Kyle. And yeah, no, I think it's great. I just think we need to take it to the next level in terms of, you know, my idea was always to have like a business ombudsman, the one person that the businesses could come in and say,
We did that at the
Help.
state.
help me.
Every
I need someone to
Major
help me through this process. I don't
roadblock
know.
department, yeah.
But yeah, but basically, our hope with the online permitting was to find some commonalities and maybe some roadblocks to what businesses were, you know, the length of the time. I'm not sure anybody really knows the turnaround time, what the,
I think we might have some-
So
Yeah.
where's it go to? Into your office or the building? Where's it go
I'm not
into?
sure Kyle knows.
Everything goes through the building,
Yeah.
the
So
building
that's-
department.
Okay.
So
are
as
you
it-
made aware of that?
I've actually asked about that in the past and I've talked to Mark about it. And Mark's response is basically, a lot of that stuff is informal. We don't get like, I don't think he gets like formal applications for some businesses. He'll kind of talk to them before that point and like have discussions with them. And he works directly with Kathy and the planning board. So it's kind of, I get cut out of the middleman, I guess, if you will, like, because he goes directly to Kathy and he works with the planning board. And he says, we've heard this from the business community and such and such. I don't know if you'd agree with that, but that's kind of how the process works now. But I have, you know, asked to stay up to date on the town through the town clerk's office, the business certificates that are getting issued and whatnot, stuff like that. So I have tried to
Yeah.
do some monitoring
And I
on
think
this,
that
but
that would be a good change,
Yeah.
because I mean, I know all the businesses that I speak to, you probably know, I'm so Kyle's a guy, so if you have questions, he can, you know, the problem is, and you guys all know this, that, you know, a lot of people are afraid to ask. They're afraid because, you know, then, you know, sometimes
But they do come to the chamber.
they come to the
and-
chamber, but they should feel comfortable coming to the town and instead of just saying, no, how can we help you get where you need
And
to
that's
get
where
there?
Kyle is.
And that's where, yeah, he should be the first person.
He is. and It's awesome.
No, I
He-
mean,
he-
for the businesses, to, when they
Yeah.
come for their permits and stuff, like, to me, he should know that. You know what I mean? If he's gonna be in charge of really making sure that we get the growth we need, he needs to know what's happening.
Is this an identified problem or?
With just me, it's just me.
Well,
I'm not sure.
you're been a selectman for a very long time,
Well,
so it's a credible, you're
I
a
think-
credible source.
But I
so-
can also say that my opinion has been based on speaking to a lot of businesses over the years and what they feel like, you know, their not roadblock is, but, you know, again, I just personally, I think that it's good business to say, how can we help you get where you need to get and not the no. And we still get a lot of that.
Because
No, I'm
I
not
think,
saying that the no is wrong all the time, because sometimes it is a no. But if it's the same no over a minute thing, I feel like we should, if that's the difference between a project getting done or not, we should all be made aware of what that is so we can make good decisions.
Mhm.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Joe.
yeah, no worries. I'd be interested to know if the no precipitates a yes in a neighboring town too.
Well, we don't know what it is, though. That's been always the problem, is getting the data to make good decisions. So that's something I think that, you know, if I have suggestions, you know, still trying to link that. But if there's one person that the business is going to me, that would help all of us get our information. Because right now it's kind of, you know, maybe the health department, and maybe conservation. and
You're talking
maybe-
about one central sort of database or location where this organization could see it, the planning board could see it, the building, everybody. Maybe there's a primary contact, but then again, all the stakeholders, if you will, relative to the business getting up and running, should have knowledge. that business is interested.
Well, to your point, why not consider making a subgroup comprised of someone from economic development, someone from planning, someone from Karen's office, whether.
I think
Karen
they
or
do a
not.
pretty good job like that, but I do think that there needs to be a point person that all business applications, now I'm not trying to circumvent anybody's authority. Here's the problem. So there's a lot of authority that happens here that you can't take away. The health department has their authority, the building department has their authority. However, from a business perspective, people who come in with permits, there's a lot of different things that they need to do. And we have, and I know that this committee has made some handbooks and handouts to businesses that help them understand the process, but they don't get them from the health department. They don't get them from the Board of Health. They get them from the Community and Economic Development Committee. So to me, that should be the first place they stop with their package and off they go. And, you know, to some extent, we should help them.
Yeah, there should be a defined path to success. For
Exactly.
these businesses, and
I don't
I
feel
was
like they
gonna-
feel that way.
they have to come through some door. It
Yeah,
should be
but it seems to
defined
me
for
that that's
them.
an easy fix. It's just a request through the
Okay, yeah.
Town administrator.
town administrator
think-
to say, can we have a primary point of contact? And then the funnel goes out to you and this committee and
In some ways though,
Whoever
Kyle, I'm thinking of your name on the website and some title that's on there, like, what, there's something about call you if you are, get in touch with Kyle Penticini if, I can't think of what the
Business
moniker
liaison.
is. It's not your personnel title, but isn't there something on the
Yeah,
website?
there
I think-
is.
What do you call?
Oh, what's my title? Is that?
No,
what-
not from the personnel, but on the
on that
website.
page. Yeah, I know
there's
what
a-
you mean. Yeah.
There's, that's something called Kyle Penticini to get started.
Yeah, there's doing business in Yarmouth
Yeah,
page.
thank you.
Yeah.
Doing business in Yarmouth. First name that comes up is you. So I think the incoming does have a home. It's what happens after that is what I hear you saying.
But so
agree.
starting
Yeah,
a
but-
business in buying a business in here in Yarmouth, no, you go to like the strongest force that you had to get approval from. So,
Yeah,
I think it depends. I
Yeah.
think it depends.
Depends on how much the business owner knows.
It knows and
Knows
how,
Mark, he
and
picks
how
up the phone,
regulated
calls
it
Mark.
would be and yeah.
Most of the
so-
time, Mark is the first stop, and that's because he is the zoning enforcement
Yes,
officer. So he's the one who determines where businesses can
But by
go.
the time they get to that point, there could be a no and you don't even know about it.
Right.
So that's where
Good
I
point.
feel like we're missing that connection to say, and people know that, and that is a barrier to development because they know if they're gonna get the no, they're gonna get turned away and that's why they don't come. Right? So if they have somebody that they feel is actually really gonna help them
Mhm.
through that process, say, okay, maybe it's a no, but wait a minute,
Yeah.
that might not be the end. So let's talk to,
Yeah.
planning or.
Yeah.
Well, in Barnstable, my experience previously with Barnstable, it was that anybody that actually, a business that was interested in coming and or leaving, it was, they had to go and talk to the economic development person, whatever the topic was. So she actually ended up, being that central focus, but that's, okay, so that's a city.
Yeah, but why should we be any different?
No,
If we-
exactly.
If we
So-
want to send a message to our businesses that they're important and we want.
So
you here.
there is a model, and out there, and that's an easy sort of reconnaissance that I don't mind doing, because obviously, those were the people that I had to deal with
Yep.
previously, so. Let me just go, but I think you're absolutely, you're right. And then, so from the state's perspective, that's what we used to do. We used to get, so my department had a report of all the businesses we touched, but then it was cross-referenced against all the other departments that had a touch from a business interested in coming into Massachusetts. So, yeah, and it's, so I would be interested in finding out who has the control of that one-stop permitting data.
Well,
And the amount of activity that's on
Yeah, I
it.
was just gonna say, so last summer, the chamber felt that there was really a need that hadn't been met in town, so we started a group called the Yarmouth Community Partnership. And they have been very successful, and in fact, they've been in front of the planning board, and that's why we
have the article at town meeting for seasonal workforce housing, because that group really just hit the ground running and just started rewriting what they felt that the business community needed for seasonal workforce housing. And we know that's just the icing on the cake, but and I just want to finish. And so one of the other big topics that we've been addressing is permitting. And we had a subcommittee, and the subcommittee put every single permit on the wall. Remember that meeting? There were 76 documents
Mhm.
that somebody could have to approach depending on what, did they have to go to the Board of Health? Did they have to go here? And we know that the process has gotten better over the years, but we've engaged the conversation with Mark. We've talked to the assistant town administrator. You know, like, how can we make that easier? Because we hear it all the time, how hard it is. Just, you know, you click here, but you might have 10 different forms you got to go through to figure out which one applies to you. So we're looking to make recommendations from the business community of how it could be streamlined. I know some of the committee members have looked at other communities and what they have that seems to be very successful, even the aesthetics of what the permitting looks like online, so that it's easier, especially if we have bilingual people that are not fluent in English. How do we make it easier for them? So these are some things that our subcommittee is looking at. So I'm glad to hear that from you as well.
Well, I guess my question to you would be, why did your subcommittee feel that they needed to start that in the first place, right? So,
Yeah.
so there's clearly a business community that's frustrated that they're not making progress. And that's a problem.
But
It's a big problem.
I think we've had a really good response because we've had some, there are some people in this room that attend those meetings. We've, you know, talked to the planning board with, and very well received. So I think we're feeling encouraged. And the same with Kyle. Kyle knows that if I have a business owner that is just frustrated with the town, the first point of contact is Kyle, because when you guys were doing the visioning, I don't need to point my finger, but Kyle was the first person that was on the phone with some of the businesses and said, I'm here for you. How can I help you? And that went so far for the business community. And now we have every single business card of the departments in the chamber office. So when a gentleman came in today, he's got a charter fishing business, and they're like, here's the people you need to talk to at town hall. And we're just handing them right out, the business cards. So, you know, we're trying to lead people here as well.
Yeah, and it's, I'm not saying that it's any particular person's
Yeah.
fault. I mean, everybody's busy and doing the best they can. So I'm not trying to finger point at anybody. I just think that we should work towards really listening and finding solutions to help them, because right now they're somewhat frustrated.
Absolutely.
So I'm happy to hear that you have that committee, you know, working with them. The planning board's always been great. This board's always been great, but you have to get people to understand that we're trying to help. And oftentimes in the outside looking in.
I think there was a couple of things you just mentioned that come to my mind thinking a little bit. One is the software. There is software here that the town has, which is not being fully utilized. And again, you know, from my perspective, what I see, a lot of people have great intentions, but they're so damn busy. There's not enough staff. So like, to answer one of your questions, I think the reason why this group got involved is they recognized this guy, he's up to his eyeballs, this new town administrator, assistant town administrator, his eyeballs with wastewater. You know, he's focused on that, right? So it's how can we help out? How can we augment without adding on additional staff from the tax levy? How can we help out staff to do some of these things? And I think that's what you're going to see more of that, because I honestly don't think more staff's going to be added here. So if we can help out with the software, helping out, you know, running some of that if we could, augmenting what Kyle's doing. In my perspective, I think there's a couple of things. There's the permitting side, the nuts and bolts of the permitting, that the software plays a big role, pivotal role in it. I don't think that's his job. I'm just talking off, I'm just spitballing here. His job, the way I see it is, if business comes in, I want to expand. Business comes in, I want to start. That's where he takes the ball and starts running it through the business. So there's a distinction there. But I couldn't agree with you more. We need to do more of that, more focus more on this. But I think we're laying the groundwork to do exactly what you're saying, as more of this, the chamber gets involved in it, as the buildings department, the various boards and commissions get more involved. I think you'll see that things will become more streamlined. The key is to keep him out of the nuts and bolts of the permit. That's my perspective.
Well, we're talking about you.
I know, this is awkward.
Well, I think what the sort of the takeaway is that we just have to work smarter.
Yeah.
And it seems like there's a lot of information. There's a data system that the goal is out there, and some we just maybe need to take a step back and see where all that information goes. So, I mean, I get that. I mean, everybody has to work.
Yeah.
smarter.
I think just in terms of some flow of information, as an example, this committee does not know what businesses are coming to town hall for. I have no idea who new businesses on 28 are,
Right.
who's come in for a permit, who's big, who's small, we don't know that. Mary might know it, maybe. Kyle might know it, but at some point that kind of feedback to this committee to understand what is the economic activity in the town? You know, who's looking at us and how are we helping them move? And then furthermore, when it gets to things like design review, where is it? How complicated is it? Are we doing everything we can to help this developer if it has to reach that point of design review?
Right.
Because you're on it and then a planning board member is on it.
Right.
And that kind of integration of information. Yeah, we have part of the reason that I sit on this committee and planning board member sits on design review is that there would be this flow of information. But unless that person's there at the planning board meeting, I don't know what happened at design review.
Right.
And it's very informal. But when I report out on this committee at planning board, I mean, I'm like reading the minutes. But that isn't kind of I don't think that's a protocol that cross fertilization of memberships do on a regular basis. And I mean, I would like to know what is, I don't know, I don't want to put any more reporting requirements out there, but maybe there's some button we can push on permits that says, geez, these are all the people and companies that looked at us this month and want building permits. Where are they? Who are they? And just get a kind of some kind of an activity report. I mean, is that possible from?
Well, I could definitely
from
get
Mark?
you, I could get you like at least like a monthly update on the business certificates that have been issued at the very least. I don't know
Is
about,
that an automated report though?
I think so. Yeah, through the town clerk's office,
'Cause
they should
I don't
have.
want to make any,
Yeah, I don't
I'm
think,
very
it-
sensitive with you and with Kathy about not asking you to do. any-
yeah, no, I
because
don't
there's-
really think that's a big ask. So we can definitely do that. and we
I mean,
can
I don't know
provide
what
that.
everybody thinks about that, but I have
Yeah.
no idea
The problem is,
who's looking at us.
The
Cap-
certificate means we've already gotten
Yeah.
a yes. though.
right,
Yeah,
that's the
that's-
problem is capturing the
that's it.
data of, what Tracy was saying,
Yeah.
how they might have gotten the no before they even reached Mark. I don't really know how you capture that data, to be honest with you.
But is there something that comes in that is an actual application? that
There's a
lets you-
zoning determination form, but, so we might have records of that. I can look into that. But I wouldn't think that they would already kind of know before they get to the point of applying for the zoning determination form. They've probably already talked to Mark and talked to other people. So it'd be the same kind of thing that they probably, if they figured out that it wasn't going to work for some particular reason, they probably wouldn't even get to the zoning determination.
Right.
form.
That's why they should be talking to you.
Yeah.
Because you need to know that. You can't do your job without knowing what the no's are.
Mhm.
You can't help them.
On some level, don't have confidence in Mark.
It has nothing to do with Mark. Mark has a very clear job to do. Mark is not our economic development. He doesn't, he has a,
He's a nuts
he
and
has a
bolts guy.
state, he has a state law that he has,
Right.
and that's what he needs.
He's a
to follow.
regulator.
Yeah,
Right.
that's-
essentially.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
He's a
right.
regulator.
Well, that's why they start with him, because they're not gonna waste their time if he says it's a non-starter.
But if it's
That's right.
because, if the no is because of the black and white that are within our purview to change, or maybe we don't want to change it, but we should know what it is that the barrier is, so we can, like I said, make educated decisions. I mean, Mark is dealing with what's in the law today.
So what's so hard about actually in the office asking to put up a sign that says, are you interested in opening a business in in Yarmouth? Go also call Kyle and say hi to Kyle, or call EDC and say hi, right? And there's just adding on the website too, right? That says if you're going to the zoning and you're saying it could be permit, just saying, just a little box that says, hey, we'd love to have you here. There's, consider all of the resources that you have in order to get to your yes.
Do they still get the handouts at the building fund? The flow, your information, or was that?
I think they still have some copies down there of like a little mini
but they
permitting
don't wanna
guide.
give them out.
Yeah, I think they're just there. Yeah.
So.
It's like a little bit of a trifold.
Yeah,
if I
yeah, yeah.
remember it.
Yeah, I can
But
grab
then
one.
I'm just saying something a little bit
Yeah.
more in your face. That's proactive.
What
That,
happens in the
and-
town? Oh, I'm sorry.
no, I mean, and then it's even sometimes, if we don't, if Kyle is like, oh, well, you guys got me one more thing to do. But even if we even set up another website, another email account that we could see it, we could all see, hi,
Mhm, mhm.
I'm Maria and I'd like to start a bakery in town. I just met with so-and-so. What else can you tell me? That maybe they've already talked to you, but at least there's somebody here in the town that
Mhm.
can,
Hmm.
we could get them in here and say, hi.
Yeah.
Tell us about yourself.
Well, that would be the job of this committee, is to try to help them work to yes, right? That seems like a
Right.
plausible and enough a plausible thing for us to spend some energy on. Is there a way that we can incorporate some of this committee into the page that Joanne's talking about?
I mean, sure, yeah. In what way do you guys want to be like directly contacted by people or with like an email address? Like, what are you thinking?
Well, I
guess?
think that at least something that tells them when we meet
Oh, well, there is stuff on that on the page.
on
Yeah,
your page.
I believe so. I'll double check on that.
But-
but I'll-
But I think what should be there is, we'd love to sit down and talk to you. We'd
Well,
love
let us
to.
help you,
Yeah,
let us
let
help
us-
you get to yes. right,
So,
that type of thing.
How about if we that's an excellent suggestion,
Yeah.
Tracy, see what it's generated, but maybe if we just all took a little time and pretended like we were somebody, right, who wanted to start a business, like it's been a long time, and see see what we find is doors that are open and doors that are closed, and what the doors that we want to open.
I think that this committee has value in that, but I definitely think it needs to be staffed. I don't think you want people individually answering, maybe not with all the full knowledge. So I'm not to put more on you, maybe you need help.
But I wasn't suggesting that we would answer. We
No,
would just
it would be,
hold on to that person and reassure them that this town is.
I mean, if I was
Would
gonna
love
start
to
a
have
business in town, I'd hire the zoning attorney that appears before the zoning board.
Mhm.
And that zoning attorney would send me to Mark.
Yeah.
And he'd say, here's what we plan to do. What do you think?
Well, not everybody has all that money.
well, and it's not even new
But-
businesses. There's a lot of businesses that are here
Existing
that,
businesses, right?
that need
Yeah.
help
But my
Yeah.
point is that's the path that traditionally
typically.
happens in every town for the most part.
Yeah.
There's one guy that does all the zoning work in the town and you go to him.
And I'm not saying that that's not the way it will end up anyway, but the only way that this committee is gonna be able to really wrap their hands around what the issues are, what the yeses or nos is if he at least touches it and can bring that information to you for you to make a decision, right? So ultimately, yes, the lawyer's gonna bring them to Mark, but somehow in the process, he should be brought in to at least know what that conversation is when it comes to a business. I
Well,
mean,
He brought up an industry that Yarmouth has largely ignored in terms of cannabis.
Yes.
So it would be helppful for us to know as a committee, have there been 15 inquiries by cannabis operators or have there been 5 or 50 or whatever it is? So that maybe this committee could then talk about,
So what is the
Resurrecting
traditional
the
route?
growth.
Well,
Is- what's-
those aren't the point there too. And the other piece of that is, if it's a business, how do we know it's a business that the community wants? Right?
well, so we went through that early on, and I know our board has had a conversation about that recently, that they want to relook at that. And I don't think that it's, if there is some interest, I think that there's value in a discussion regardless. And let the people ultimately make the choice, right? So that's what we did the last time. We put a bylaw together. At the time, it wasn't supported by the board. I didn't think we needed to be the first ones in the market. but now there's a lot to
Yeah.
have been learned
Right,
from
right.
other communities. So, I mean, I think there's value always in relooking at these things. So, I mean, I think that if you feel that it's something that you think is good for our town, then you guys should work towards bringing something forward.
Okay.
That's my opinion. I mean, I'm,
Yeah, it would ultimately be for town meeting voters to decide.
it's
on,
for the
so,
people to
yeah.
decide, but you have to give them the options.
So Steve,
Yeah.
what is the traditional route that this group takes in order to get, like, communicate with departments? Is it through staff?
Go to staff, yes,
Okay.
yeah, we don't. pick
And
up the
then-
phone and call.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I think.
No, I
it
just
works
was
with-
curious, yeah.
But no, that's something, that's a good example of something that we could, we would lead the charge on that. The next step is get someone in here and talk to us more
Yep.
about it. So that's a,
I
One
Googled
case-
him before he got hired, he already went to charge on that. Just a little FYI, I Google people.
Oh, boy, I don't even know what was on.
Now he's gonna do it tonight.
That was 3 years ago. There's probably new stuff on the. you find.
Well, I think that's exactly the point. 3 years ago, people had a lot of misconceptions about it in town. And
I
that's
was one
probably
of them.
why they voted the way that they voted.
I'm not sure I feel the same way now.
No,
And there hasn't been a proliferation of horror stories like everyone was projecting that there might be. All there's been is revenue.
And the state legislature has just taken up changes to
Yeah.
it because they learned over the years that there's some things that are real stumbling blocks for entrepreneurs to enter that particular industry. And I'm hoping the planning board will get it on our agenda to take a look at it again. I think it's an important industry. We've got a location for it. We've got a zoning, we've got a place on the,
Real good
On the
location
use.
for it, yeah.
and it's right off the highway, right off an interchange. And it could work. And I think just the history of what's going on now, towns all over the Cape are starting to jump on this.
And they're not allowed.
Sandwich,
And they're not allowed in Barnstable or Dennis, so you could
Yeah.
have the whole Mid-Cape
Well, what
marketplace.
concerns me is that it's a fallback position. And I think that when you will look at the visioning, I mean, we're trying to create business environments or attract businesses that support the people who live here. And so it's a very small market that's going to address that. Yes, it does bring in a lot of tax revenue. Yeah, that you
I
can
don't
do
think
a
it's
lot.
as small as you think it is.
Exactly.
But it's the values of this community. And quite honestly, the values of this community is something that is rooted in, the old sort of Puritan tradition and hardworking, the sailing community and the fishermen and small mom and pop, as we know, businesses under 5 and people who love being in this environment. So so that's over here, right? But we got to get the original conversation started out with, how do we keep the businesses we have and attract those who complement those existing businesses, right? The restaurants,
Yeah.
the bakeries, the gift shops. I'm sorry, that's what we are. We're a destination, right? And all the ladies want to get in their cars and they want to go from gift shop to gift shop.
But we
And
want to
restaurant
create
to
a
restaurant.
year-round economy.
And another reason for people to go to places is this is a destination for some people as well. And
No, I know, but I just want to be on the record. I consider it a fallback and shouldn't just be.
I think I would have probably agreed with you 3 to 5 years ago. I'm not sure I still feel that way. Because I've watched the other communities, I watched the people who participate in these. It's no different now than liquor store, which we have everywhere.
But it'll employ
You
less,
would be
less than 10
surprised.
people. So, okay, 10 people.
10 people.
Woo!
10 people's
But-
better than
But anyway,
Well-
there'll be what this right here is
Yeah.
what we'll have at town meeting, but I
Yeah.
think it's a valuable conversation to have.
Right.
Yes, and
Right.
I think it's worth having. a
I think if we didn't talk about it, shame on us.
Right.
It's a new industry. It's making money and generating tax revenues for other communities. And if this committee didn't look at it, shame on us.
And
And
can
as
I
I said-
also, oh, sorry,
Go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say, I was talking to a business owner today. And their take on it is that it's a health concern. Because now you've got kids out there buying weed on the street that's laced with fentanyl and it's gonna kill them. At least this puts it in a,
Oh, I've seen that,
situation where they're buying it, exactly, controlled.
Regulated.
I think at last meeting, we all agreed that we would put it, revisit that.
Yeah,
right,
Mr.
Tom?
Chairman, looks like Tom Nicanello's got his hand raised, if you want to recognize.
Yes, Tom? Can you hear us? You're up.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. I just want a couple of comments. Being familiar with the permitting application process in multiple communities here on Cape Cod, our community is struggling with the electronic capturing of our data, as you folks have just pointed out. Over on the east side of us, over the river, those zoning determination forms are done electronically, which I think can capture what you're looking for. The town clerk here in our town, as Kyle indicated, Mr. Pedicini indicated, that you can capture that information electronically because it's filed that way. So if it's not filed that way electronically through our permitting process, and Mark has done a great job in trying to bring it up to speed. It's across the hall that's holding us back, and you have to call it out. Okay, our health department is great. But they need to come into the 20th century, actually. I know there's a lot going on. They just got another person down there for housing. They just picked up another person for the assistant director, which is great. So maybe that can help. But, in Dennis and some other communities, everything is done electronically. I mean, you can still do paper and bring it in, and it could be scanned into the record, and you can capture the information. So I think some of the discussion you were talking about is the next level of our electronic phase through the program that we already have. It's just an update on software. And I think Mr. Grills is aware of that, but he's just having a hard time trying to get the rest of the department on board. And he could use, I think he's going to be putting out another inspector job for about 12 hours a week, because we have just about 900 and something permits going on, and that's quite a bit. And once we start getting wastewater in a few years, the permitting process is going to be so cumbersome that adding more bodies into that department is going to be mandatory to keep up with it. So if we do it slowly and graduate, for an inspector to come on job, it's a lot of training. He has to have his credentials. And by the time he's actually comfortable with what's going on within himself and with the regulations for our town, it's almost a year. So, that's just my thought. And thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom.
Do we know what is it just the technology is there and it's not being used? It's not a policy decision of our town?
You're talking about like through the health department?
Yeah, is that where the stumbling block is?
I don't know what it is with the health department. I would guess it's probably reticence to adopt it on maybe staff's level. I don't really know.
It's
Yeah,
redundancy on
you
the
probably
permit
know better.
forms, and they could be consolidated and then put online, where right now it's hard copy, and, if you're doing one thing, there's 14 different forms. And you don't know which form to use. And then if you use the first one, then it's like, oh, you should
I
have
thought
used
we
that
were
one.
working towards a general, there was an online, I
Yeah.
remember seeing the online where there was like just one.
I know in terms of the community development, we've been working on that for a while, and we've had staffing it, we're turning over those positions that are supposed to be working on like the historic and the zoning board of appeals administrator positions. We've had new staffers who have just been trying to get up to speed with the position, and then they leave, and then we have to replace them, and the next person getting up to speed, and they never have really had time to delve into setting up. It takes a while to set it up, all the stuff on the back end. Obviously, once you get it going, it's good. But I know it's something I haven't talked to Karen about it in a while, but I know it's something that is a priority for the department, but we just haven't been able to do it because of staffing issues at this point. But I can't speak to the health department because
I don't want to get in the weeds, but I mean, this just says that in order to access this online, you have to set up a username and an account. So at a minimum, we would get whoever is interested in any one of these permits, which is maybe a good place to start.
So maybe the town needs to send those people that have registered a survey to figure out how successful their thing is. But certainly,
Maybe it's a survey that's generated by this committee.
There's a lot of ARPA funds and other funds that are available, perhaps, you know, I don't know, maybe this committee wants to take a position or mock go through and find out where the stumbling block is and make some suggestions to
Good idea.
administration.
Yeah, good idea.
To figure out how we can make it better. And like I said, there are a lot of funds available right now. So perhaps we could find a way to help get that last piece done and make it a policy, you know, so we all have, everybody should have the data, everybody should be working in the same digital world. I know, you know, Tom's right. There's some communities it's very easy to do.
Mhm.
And we should be one of them. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
I think it's my understanding that the administration is working on it. I do think that they appreciate the onslaught of permitting demand that's gonna, that wastewater is gonna bring. So I don't think that it's on fire right now. I think that they've got other things that they've put in front of it.
We've been
clearly, but-
talking about this for
Yeah.
about,
No, I know that, but it's
uh,
gonna,
I think you're right. This
it's almost like wastewater is gonna force them
yeah.
to get off
I
the
think
ground. I think
this is
that,
an example how we can supplement and augment what the staff is doing. We can take some of this away from them and say, okay, here's the pitfalls, here's where we see some progress that could be made if we did something differently over here. Here's the software that we have, we're not utilizing fully because we don't have a license for it. You can come up with all those things and make a recommendation.
So within this budget though, is there a carve out for us to be able to at least do maybe matching fund to support a matching fund project? For our budget within these line items, is there anything
Yeah,
that could
economic,
be earmarked, the economic development?
economic development. Yeah.
Okay.
For what expenditure exactly?
Well, I'm just assuming if there's not ARPA money, if there's some funding in order to help the town move
The
this
county could
fast
really sell
forward,
that without-
right? And sometimes there are matching funds, I'm just saying. that.
Yeah, certainly. You got unallocated. It's just got to go towards the tourism fund
Okay,
mission
well,
is
that's good.
basically,
Okay,
and
yes,
then
but it's a
supporting
great
businesses.
suggestion, Tracy.
But if we put it out there when it comes, like
Right.
this is a barrier, you know?
Yeah,
But
and we
help
have,
us.
and we do have an example, again, I will go back to the state, because it's something that I kind of started, but everybody else ran with it, is that, I mean, there is a portal. Okay, so in addition to this ombudsman, so while like you're getting tossed around to a couple of departments and call this number, somebody will fast forward it. The Commonwealth now does have, it's a one-stop portal for incentives, right? So if you're applying for this and this and this, you're just putting in one set of information and then you're funneled out to so it exists, the technology exists, and we're an intergovernmental agency. So I mean, there's nothing that's saying that the town can't take advantage of the investment.
Are they
that
still
the
doing the
state-
community compact grants?
The community compact IT grants. I think Paul was going to apply for one. Yeah.
Because this would be great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, the issue isn't so much funding, like certainly from like a community development, open gov perspective, it's only the people who can do it are the ones who understand the process, right? They understand all the fees and the fee schedule and all that stuff. So you wouldn't be able to just hire somebody to just do it. You know, they would then have to work with the staff member to do it, which at that point, why wouldn't the staff member just do it? It's not, you know what I mean? It's not a funding problem as I see it, at least from the community development open gov perspective. That's the only part of the process I've been involved in terms of the online permitting. So I started to set up the ZBA one, for instance, and it just kind of got lost in the wayside because we have so many other priorities, as we know. But yeah, so that's where, you know, if we could just write a check and then have it be done, we would have already asked you guys for this, you know, it would have already been done. But it's just the staff time, really.
speaking of which, they did come to us and ask us to write a check. So we did for the consultant to study the corridor in terms of applicable and logical and plausible uses going forward, based upon what we expect wastewater is going to do to interest in the development and so on and so forth. So similarly, I just want to dovetail on the back end of that conversation about cannabis is that we're going to be told by this consultant the most plausible and best use for what it is we have. Similarly, I think that there's ways we can talk about cannabis, and I'm not a for or against, but I do appreciate that those 10 jobs could be the 10 jobs that we want, the type of jobs that we want that come with training and a healthcare and a pension and, be in a position to defend against the perception of cannabis in a way that says, this is an economic development driver. These are good jobs, similar to the economic jobs that we're going to create out of the consultants work that is potentially going to draw hospital jobs or professional services jobs across the border from Barnstable down 28. So but I think the two scenarios are related.
We'll see. And then we also should be like, hopefully they'll identify those businesses that we can take advantage of the line, the
Open Cape, the
the Open
broadband.
Cape project and the broadband, because I know Harwich was focusing on attracting those industries, those businesses that actually can use a lot of data and attracts. Those are high paying jobs. Those are high profile, national level jobs. So
And they don't tax your wastewater system either.
yeah. So with that being said, I'm looking forward to this. And so, but what other things that while we have your time, because I know you're gonna get
How much more
going
time
to
do we
a
have?
meeting.
Okay.
Okay, well, she's got her dinner. She already ate her dinner. so. What else? What else did you, it's been a topic that we should all maybe.
Yeah,
I have a
there's,
question.
yeah.
So as a committee, we've been talking about how do we decide when someone that's been receiving grant money from us is sustainable? When do we deem that a group or an organization or event has achieved sustainability? And what kind of things come to mind when I ask you that question in terms of what we can consider? Because this committee has funded, the Seaside Festival for as long as I've been a resident of the town. So
I'm not sure, I understand where you go with that, and I'm not sure if sustainability really, it would be the only criteria, because, John was going to anybody that a lot of what even this grant gives barely covers the town expenses. Unfortunately, the
I
town
wasn't picking on
expenses.
the Seaside Festival.
No, but it's true.
Just the longest run.
So sustainability, I mean, obviously they were sustainable long before the CBC came into effect, and I think that they probably would be after. To me, the question really is what's the net benefit for the town? So, do you think you get your value?
What's your return on
Do you
investment?
think we are and the investment is coming back to us in terms of bringing people here, meals, rooms. That's the goal. I mean, I think I haven't looked at what your criteria is for distribution lately, but clearly it meets the shoulder season. It meets all the criteria. But I see what you're saying, because you're doing the same ones over and over again. And I'm not sure that's necessarily the bad thing when it comes to that, as long as you have money available to continue to try new things, which it seems like you do. So
We were looking for ways to change the application. We were looking for ways to give a nod towards, this is not an annual allocation, which for the most part, historically, some of it has become an annual allocation. I think we were faced with some tough choices this year because we had more requests than we had money. So that kind of forced us to have a discussion about, what is our mission and what does the charter say? And, it is giving money to the same parade every single year. Is that economic development, or are we missing an opportunity to give money someplace else in the shoulder season or to another event that we could then help grow? And when do we step away from the parade, and give money to the X that?
So I think only you guys know that. So has there been stuff you haven't been able to fund because? I mean, if you're making choices like that, I could see that. I think as long as it meets the criteria of what you're trying to do.
I think we'd love to have that problem. We don't get a whole lot of new events is the problem. So from my perspective, I think we'd love to have that problem and then grapple with those discussions. But for the most part, we just get the same return applicants. That's why.
We have the same thing with the CPA fund, right? There's a
Right.
lot of people that have the same argument with the CPA fund and that they want to.
So,
I
Yeah.
think once the
How-
drive-in site
Yeah.
is done, you will get a lot more applications. Because you'll have
Hopefully,
a
yeah.
venue that will have the amenities that will attract.
Right, and then
a
if you're
venue
looking at two
organizers.
applications, right, that has 50,000 people here and this one has 20 and this one's 2,500 or 5,000 and this one's only 2,500, then
Yeah.
I think this committee would then probably make an educated decision.
Which I think ultimately is what we did, right?
Yeah.
We got it around. That's,
Yeah.
this is I'm new to the committee, so.
But we
did
have the same argument with CPA funds. People get very frustrated seeing the same
People get
projects or,
annually.
yeah, like, but a lot of those projects, they have matching funds. Obviously, the Seaside Festival and the other festivals like that raise a lot of money on their own too. So, I don't know if you can answer that until you.
Yeah, so like this year, we did have a couple new ones and, we had the polar plunge, which you guys determined through your criteria wasn't going to give as much value as the Seaside Festival would.
Right.
So it's really just kind of on its own individual merit,
wait, I guess I would ask Tracy, I know you got another challenge ahead of you with another elected office, but how does this committee stay in sync with what the economic development goals are of the Board of Selectmen? Does it meet periodically with them or?
Well, I think Kyle probably being your staff, I'm not. But, typically, we didn't even set our goals this year, to be perfectly honest. We had it on the docket several times and
So the retreat never happened.
no, we never had, there were 2 snowstorms.
Well, I remember there was weather, yeah.
Yeah, so it never really happened, but, so hopefully when the new board
That would be the
gets
first step.
sit, they will
Gotcha.
promulgate their goals and
Still coming back.
it will come down.
That's in the past, it's been Board of Selectmen set their goals and then you guys look at your goals.
You kind of marry them up.
Yeah, and
And-
being informed.
But
obviously.
I think we are hoping to change that a little bit with the vision statement.
I think the vision statement.
And that
play
should
a
be
big-
kind of the foundation of where the,
I agree with that.
you've
and I-
said that before.
Yeah, and I think that those were the documents that we were waiting for. That's why I think it took us so long to even
Yep.
start that process.
Yep.
Steve,
So.
Because if you look at the goals in that for economic
I don't know if we
development
put
and
it
stuff,
down though.
they need to be somewhat measurable.
Right.
And that's one of the frustrations. Some of them aren't, we haven't yet set up any way to say, how did we do?
Right, so not always. We've had some goals that were turned into very great action plans in my time. That were measurable, that were timelined. I think Chris even had it on the.
Yeah, I remember the big, the whole set of
he did a
matrix.
whole-
Oh, yeah, that was
yeah,
great.
Each person was assigned a task and there was a goal. And so it really depends upon what the board requires or requests, I guess, when they give the directive. When I first started, there were pages and pages of goals. It was just kind of thoughts, really. And then we got to a point where we talked about like our top 10, and then we asked staff really to help build the plan behind that. And some of the, a plan without real goals and people assigned to them really don't happen, which is why we brought it down to 10, because then we could say we really want to focus on these ones in a year, because you can have pages and pages and none of them end up getting done. So each board, I think, has been a little bit different and taken a little bit of a different approach. I've seen in 12 years, I've seen it done several different ways. But I thought that the detailed way of those 10 and the timelines, I think the way that they did that was probably the best, and we could measure our success. And some of the things we hit the goals on, some of them we didn't, but at least we had benchmarks. And I think that any business plan would have those benchmarks in it. So I'm not sure what the board will do next year, but I do hope that when that comes down, it will get funneled through
Right.
Kyle, and then this board will have a discussion on what can we take, let's set our goals. Or maybe it should go the other way around. Maybe you guys can help in them drafting their goals as well. It goes both ways, that
Yeah.
communication. So if they don't know, and they may not be aware of some of the issues, or it's not on their radar, maybe business permitting isn't on their radar.
Right.
So, maybe communicating with them as well, so it can be a goal that we can fix is.
Tom, you have a question?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Just to go back to the grant funding, please, if I may. The Seaside Festival is a great event. It's been around for centuries, well, whatever, I mean, decades, right? If you look back, 18% commercial tax rate. They used to get a lot of their money through our businesses. St. Patrick's Day parade's coming up to 20 years now. We used to get a lot of our funding through our businesses. And right now we have less than 5% of commercial tax rate in business. So a lot of our businesses have gone that we used to ask for their help to put on these shoulder season events, which brings people to town. Yes, there's different ones. This year, there was some great applications. Some events need more attention than others. Speaking for the two that's been around for a long time now, require more help with the town because of what they do. The Seaside Festival parade has shrunk because of the funding. The parade, St. Patrick's Day parade, it grows, but so does the amount of money. We pay about $12,000 back to the town. And, maybe a discussion and some formula about, a percentage before that $100,000 goes to some of these events that need that extra help, right? So if the Seaside Festival was going to spend $8,000 on police and fire details, and they were going to get a percentage, which only dropped it down to $4,000, that's a great help. Okay, it doesn't come out of the grant money, right? If they're awarded $25,000 and they're spending $8,000 to go back to the departments, which is great. I mean, we have to do that, right? But why can't we have a percentage where it comes off the top and maybe they pay half, right? So I'm sure they would be happy to pay $4,000 for the town services instead of $8,000. So, same thing with the parade. So if we give them the grant money at 25,000, or just a number, right, whatever they are, 25,000, and they pay half of that, and then the other half comes out of the overall accumulation in that funding source. I think that's a good discussion to have, and maybe it could help out. I don't think these people are looking for the complete price to be picked up by the town, but maybe a little portion that doesn't come out of that grant money. So that's thank you very much.
All right.
Yeah, it's a goal.
What else we got? Tracy.
The wrapping,
Oh,
utility box wrap project.
oh
is that
yeah,
your-
no, that wasn't me, but I do remember that starting, and I know that they just redid it. Which I love them.
Hmm.
I think it's great.
Yeah,
I
nice.
know, actually, that was a subcommittee. I'm not sure. Yeah, it was public art, and
Oh, Mary.
it was actually a sub, what's the matter? Is that a bad
I'm
word?
a huge advocate
Yeah.
of public art, and
Yes.
I have been pumping it for years.
Yeah,
and I will continue to do
there
it.
should be a committee in town
Yeah.
that focuses on that.
So that was Mona and Liz,
Yep.
Hartsgrove, and was it Sean? Maybe it was Sean. I'm not sure. It was a subcommittee.
Of the selectmen.
No,
Of-
the town administrator had assigned a small group of employees to be on I want to say it was kind of like the beautification. You know what was happening? I think, if my timing is right, we had taken a lot of properties,
Yeah,
we were trying to
Marshing them.
find ways to maintain them. And we didn't have the funding for the lands that we took. So like down across from Giardino's,
Yep.
the parks there, you know, we have to maintain them. We didn't have a budget for that. So he put together a beautification or a subcommittee to find out ways to fund some things. I believe the wrap thing was aside from that, but they also worked with the cultural center to do some street art. But they started selling, that's when they started selling Yarmouth jackets, and they started selling the boardwalk planks, because that funding was supposed to keep going back into a fund that would help maintain some of our parks.
Yeah.
But I don't really know who is spearheading the electric wrap. Is it you?
No, Kyle,
Yeah.
and then Jen
That's a
Warner,
script.
our marketing director,
Yep.
is also working with Kyle. on
Yeah,
that.
so that's on the agenda because we're talking about doing some more,
That's awesome.
because why not? People like them.
I
So
like
Yeah,
they're
they're
pretty cheap.
terrific.
We use it, we got we use, was it Sinorama? So we use a local company, so.
How
Yeah.
much does it cost to wrap one?
So we're looking at, I think it was 6 boxes on this one. It'll be like 5,000 for all 6.
But they
total.
lasted a really long time
Yep.
last time. I was
Yep.
surprised.
And we use nice pictures of Yarmouth, so they look really nice. But yeah, they are very durable. Sorry to cut you off.
No. I like them. I think it's, you know, it's the little things like that.
Right.
I don't know. I enjoy looking at them. I like public.
And
art.
we're still trying to do the
I was gonna
banners.
say that. That was the next thing I was gonna bring
Yeah.
up, the banners. Now, there are some that have been placed that I like, but every time it's just, I have this very strong feeling when I go through a community that has those veteran banners. It's
Yeah.
just very, it's always like at the center of town, and I was just somewhere the other day that I saw them again. I always
What,
thought that.
okay, what banners?
Oh, no,
The
so-
utility poles, the ones on the utility poles.
Oh, got it.
So right now we have some spring or summer ones. that are
Where have I been
beautiful.
driving?
But one of the things I would like to do is have photos. So
Oh, yeah, that would
some
be lovely.
some of the towns have good areas to be able to do that. And,
I think we can do it right in front of town hall here. We got a good area.
You
Yeah.
know,
I'm waiting to hear back
every
from.
time I pull up here, I pull up next to the one sign I was able to get, one sign that took me, I can't tell you how long. That says, we honor veteran parking. Now we have one in town, and now it's almost fall, you know, it doesn't look great anymore. It just, we should have them everywhere. We should have them we should have them at the libraries. I think we should have them at the police department. We should have them everywhere to show, you know, it's a small amount to show how much we appreciate them. And so something like the banner project, I think, makes a lot of veterans feel like they're welcomed here. And we have a very large veteran population. So oftentimes we deal with people who want free golf or free beach or whatever. And, you know, budgetarily, you can't do a lot of that, but there's the small things that you can do. And, you know, putting a parking sign out, I think, is something that is,
Easy
is- yeah, it
Doesn't
is.
cost anything.
I would love to see the banners, but I know it's a work in progress.
We'll get there.
We
We'll
start
get there.
talking about these things like 10 years later.
Yeah, well,
Not your fault, everything.
yeah,
That's town government,
yeah, that's government. Yeah, it's
so. No, that would be an exciting thing to see.
Can I just ask, will you be there tomorrow? Are you familiar with the meeting up in Yarmouth Court for those businesses at 3 p.m.?
I'll be there.
Is this a follow-up to the public hearing?
The public meeting on the parking.
Yeah.
The chamber and the businesses requested a meeting with town staff so that the business community could really express their concerns about what's happening up on 6A right now. So, you know, there's some real logistical reasons why no parking won't work on 6A, because even their delivery trucks cannot get in and out of behind the buildings. And, you know, we can come up with some long-term solutions for the businesses to work together to deal with the parking behind them, but that's not going to be a short-term fix for this season. So I know the staff met on Friday, but I'd be interested to see what comes out of that. Because it's an immediate concern for those businesses. So, just making you aware that that meeting is happening tomorrow. At 3.
Well, it was a very well attended meeting
Mm,
and there was a lot of strong feelings there. And I get their frustration. That it's taken so long, but there's a reason, you know, that these things, like, some of these things take long.
Yeah.
But having said that, we were on a good path with the consultants that we had, and unfortunately, COVID happened, and it got put on the back burner, and there are some safety issues
Absolutely.
that I think everybody heard loud and clear, so. But again, I get very concerned when we are having conversations that affect our businesses without the business community actually being able to participate. So I think that meeting was important. And it's an important place to start. And the town, it was a very difficult place for the businesses to really feel probably comfortable to speak their position because there's such strong feelings on the other end. But ultimately, I think we're going to come to the conversations always lead to a good outcome.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
you know, the timing is always going to be tough because right now, like you said, they're going to be getting into their busy season, and then you have the whole state on top of it, so we don't want to control the road. Then you have Old Kings Highway in terms of signage, so there's a lot of pieces that play into that. But I feel like we're getting there.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, not everyone's going to be happy at the end of the day. That's going to be the sad part.
That's the government.
Right.
Well, I mean, I think if you listen and you do the best you can to try to make everybody happy. And, you know, it's kind of like what we always say about like our renegotiation of the school agreement, right? Neither one of us really left happy. So,
no,
I mean, I guess that's a good thing, right? Everybody get a little something, we get give and take, and you come up with something that you can manage. And hopefully at the end of the day that those businesses will be able to manage. You know, I'm always nervous that we're going to put a burden on them and, you know, they're not going to be able to operate in our town, and that's a real possibility.
Yep.
So, you know, unfortunately, we don't have public parking there. Maybe we need to start talking about public parking areas. Because, you know, the answer from all the residents was they should park in the back. Well, they don't own that parking. They can't tell the person who owns that parking that they have to let their customers live there, park there, because, you know, everybody's litigious. So something happens, they have that responsibility if they allow it. And, you know, so it's sad, not all the businesses have the same parking. And so when we make changes like this, we really can impact our businesses position. So hopefully you guys are all, you know, staying on top of that and hopefully advocate for businesses to be able to continue to be successful with at the same time making the neighborhood safe. So yep, hopefully tomorrow we'll have some resolution.
Or a very creative idea.
That's what we're hoping.
We have anything else for Tracy or?
Well, you know where to find us.
Yeah, and you know where
Thank
to
you
find
very
me.
much.
I don't plan on going very far. I don't plan on going very far. I won't be here on Tuesday nights anymore, but I'll still be here. So
How was today? Did you go to bed?
I did. It was wonderful. It was wonderful in a sad way, but it was wonderful. It was just bittersweet because, you know, when something bad happens and you see something good come out of it. But I'll tell you, I have.
Oh, the Nero.
Yeah, they had the bill signing today. On today's his 4th anniversary. of his death.
Where was it?
It was at the training facility. It was very well attended. There were a lot of people there. But I'm always in awe of his mother. No matter how many times I've watched her speak, she is one of you can just draw from her strength. Like she just,
Very kind of collected.
she's just, she's got so much grace. Like I'll never forget watching her speak at the sentencing. And just how much forgiveness and grace she had in spite of everything. It's remarkable. So she's a very strong individual. I don't know if I could do that strong. But anyway, the whole thing was nice. They had a nice little ceremony.
Well, thank you for taking
Yeah,
the time.
no,
thanks for having
me.
Tracy.
Thanks very
Thanks
much.
for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you for all your hard work.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm honored to do it. It's been an honor. I'm actually getting sad now that my time is ending, believe it or not. No, I thought I would be happy, but I mean, I'll be happy because I'm happy to focus on a new challenge, but
Yeah.
at the same time, we talk about stuff and I'm like,
Yeah.
You send your proxy, send your staff. person.
my staff. No, it'll be me. It'll be me. No, I probably will be here more. I think that that's one of the things that I'm not going to campaign here. I'm just saying that I understand the connection to government, and I think that that's a state rep's job is to help the town get where they need to go. So
Good.
that would be my focus. But anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
All right,
All right, you ready for utility wraps?
sure.
Yeah. Oh, I thought, and I
good
thought that was
meeting.
one of the
It was good meeting.
Tracy's pet peeves, but she likes it. So.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know how much you want to discuss it, but these are the locations that we were looking at. So this is a new utility box at Taylor Bray Farm. This one's on the corner of Long Pond and Route 28, right in front of, I think it's like right near Papagino's in that area. This is on the corner of North Main and Route 28. At the entrance to Shaw's on Route 28. All of them pretty much are on Route 28. In front of Sharky's. This is right on the Hyannis Barnstable, or yeah, Yarmouth Barnstable town line, which would be a nice little gateway. And then this one actually is now painted black. Previously had a nice historic photo on it, but that's taking a scroll in Buck Island. So this is kind of the estimate. I haven't actually gotten a quote yet from Sinorama, but we just had the project done less than a year ago. So just using their prices from the last one, would say about $5,000 would get it done. So for your consideration, requesting $5,000 from the physical improvement account for the utility box wraps. And then I would then we'll do the same kind of thing we did last time, work with Jen to choose some pictures, bring them to you guys for your approval. And we would work with Sinorama to get it done.
I
So
have a question, because I mean, I'm referring to the one that's actually done by Rockland. And it doesn't say Yarmouth on it. Is this a price to actually put like, white lettering like on the side or something that says?
you
Yarmouth?
guys can do whatever you want. The idea last time, I don't know which one you're talking about, but the idea was to have a nice picture that kind of like blends into the scenery. And then there's a little call out on the bottom left that says project sponsored by the Tourism Revenue Preservation Fund.
Yeah, I was thinking something more in your face that, you're wearing Yarmouth,
That's up to you guys,
That
but
would be my, when the pictures come back and then we vote.
Yeah.
And also the location,
Yeah.
like we want this one here because it's bright and colorful.
yeah,
This
yeah,
one there.
yep, sure.
Okay, cool.
Carl, I do have one quick question. On
Yep,
the one
absolutely.
at the entrance to Shaw's,
Yes,
can you go back to that? Which is the box?
this one's the box. I'm
That's-
not actually
ah.
sure what that one is. But there's
Yeah.
two of them there, so I suppose we could try to wrap both of them. I'd have to do a little bit more research as
Yeah,
to
yeah,
figure out
just
what
curious as to-
exactly that one is.
Yeah,
Um,
because the one at the
I think it's phone
stop
company, that's right.
intersection is perfect
Yeah,
because you can see, you can see it.
right. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think we would probably just do that one and leave the phone company one alone, but then
So
we'd
who
probably get.
owns those?
So honestly,
That's
I'm
interesting.
pretty sure the state
Question.
owns these because they're on Route 28. So yeah, we could go through the state to try to get
So
approval.
we're just
I had
going-
talked to Jeff Colby about this very topic. If we went through the Mass DOT to try to get approval, it would take months. And then they probably don't have an approval process for this because they don't deal with this stuff. And honestly, there's no reason that they would have any problem with it. It
Well,
doesn't
Okay,
affect
so
you getting
I
in and
think
out of the
publicly,
box.
we don't believe there's any prohibition. for
Any
us to
adverse
do this.
impacts or
Or
prohibition,
Yes,
correct?
okay, so I would make do we need a motion?
Yes, please.
I would make a motion to support the funding for this particular project as presented by.
So
by-
allocate 5,000 from the
so
physical
by-
improvement.
yes, please.
You have a second? Mhm. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Got that, Kyle?
Excellent. Thank you, guys.
What else do we have? We have the minutes, right?
Correct.
Form, yeah, for January,
We got a form here, so we get minutes from,
January 25th.
Make a motion to accept the minutes of the Community and Economic Development Department Committee on January 25th,
Yeah.
2022.
We actually have everybody this
You
time.
have a second?
Yeah, we do have everyone, yeah.
Second, we have a second. All those in favor?
All right,
Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain.
And 2 abstain.
And I make a motion to approve the minutes of March 22nd as written for the EDC committee.
We have a second.
second.
Is that the one that I was not at?
No,
Now,
I-
Mary, you're listed as
No, you're
being,
there.
Yeah,
You're there.
I think you were there. Okay.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think you were
this is
there.
when we did it.
So we had a second, right?
yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh, abstain, that was-
And 1 abstain. All right. What else we have?
You got committee and staff updates for the next one. So, the committee member updates.
I can give one for RAC. We met
Well, yeah, I
yesterday.
think that-
I'm sorry.
No.
Mr.
no,
Chairman?
no,
I have one for the Water Resources Advisory Committee met yesterday with Jeff Colby and the consultants to give us a progress report on the progress that's being made with the design consultants and the project manager. So we had a fairly full presentation of where they are. So they're getting, it's kind of, they're, what's the right word? They are, they're getting up to speed because both consultants haven't worked together on this, closely for a while. So they're all kind of trying to get together and move forward. So it was a good update for the committee, and Kyle presented this really, that the website is really remarkable. At some point, I think
Yeah.
we should see it here.
Sure, absolutely.
There's a whole website that's been developed that talks about the project and all of the elements that are going to be
I can
part
pull
of
it up
it.
now.
Can you,
Yeah.
and you could talk to it better than I
It's
can.
not
You were
online
there.
yet.
No,
No,
it's
It should
it's
be
like a
imminently
beta,
though,
like a
yeah.
draft. But did we say we wanted to try to get something up before town meeting?
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that-
I mean, I'm ready to publish it as soon as
Yeah.
Bill gives me the go ahead. I think the last thing is just to run it past all the department heads, make sure that they're okay with it,
Yeah.
and then we'll get it
Yeah.
out probably next week, I'm guessing.
As Kyle's getting it up, the one thing that came up that Spiros was really pushing on is because so far the talk has been, this is the pipe, this is how we're gonna design it and engineer it, and we've got these consultants to do it. And then you've got the whole financing scheme that Bill and diffs and whiffs and clips and tips and some of this stuff I'm actually familiar with, and I still get all wrapped up with it because he went through another presentation on that to us, similar to the one he gave to us here. And it's about the financing and that infrastructure, that very technical infrastructure on financing. And Spiros, Mr. Klassos, continue to press. I live in West Yarmouth, and I'm a person where the pipe is going to come down my street. This is what I want to know. When is the pipe coming? And what does it mean to me? How do I connect? The connection from the pipe to your house is you. Think of the permits that all of those people are going to have to secure, or through their contractors, obviously. But tell me when the pipe is going to be on my street and tell me what that means. And we haven't focused on that. I don't think, Kyle.
We haven't got to that
That
point
point
really yet.
But that's what's going to be a town meeting.
Well,
I mean,
the
I
only
think
thing
they're
that-
anticipating.
Yeah, the only thing that people really care about is how much is it gonna cost for me?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the betterment's going to be? And
And I went through this in Andover, and the more it gets rolled out, the more the contractors go, a couple more $1,000. So that's what we really need to be very aware of. That there is precedent for how it happens.
Yeah.
And it's typically it should be a rollout, right?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I'm not suggesting that
Yeah.
people aren't thinking about it,
Yeah.
but the committee, members of the committee, they actually created a subcommittee of 3 members who are gonna lay out milestone points for meetings, public meetings, maybe it'll be Zoom. I'm not sure how Spiros wants to go about
Yeah,
that.
I don't really know how that's gonna work, to be honest, because we had done some outreach meetings to community groups about a
Yeah.
year ago. And the real only thing that's changed from a year ago is we're going from DHY to Y. So I'm not really sure what updates we're presenting, and I would think we're gonna get all those questions that you're talking about. How much is it gonna cost me? How much? Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
We don't have those answers right
Yeah,
now.
right.
So I don't
'Cause this
really
is the
know.
Design work, right?
Yeah, in terms of what's going on right
Yeah.
now, it's the collection system design.
But just the map on who's first and who's last,
Well, we do have that. We have
Yeah,
the
oh, yeah,
phases map,
but
you know.
a person raising their hand saying, okay, I'm first. When do you think the pipe might be coming down my street?
Well, and it's
5
not even-
years.
In
And
the
that's
next
what an
5 years is the
individual
best
would.
answer.
But
Yeah.
it's also, do I have to remove my septic
I just
system?
don't-
Oh, yeah,
Those,
that's
those are
fine.
a lot of good questions that need to be decided. You know, is there going to be a septic system moratorium? If I just put in a new septic system, am I going to have to connect
Yeah.
when it comes by me? Da, 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 da,
They
da.
typically make
And they
people
probably
ask.
will. Yeah.
So they're,
But-
they're working on that.
Right, right. So exactly. So it's like, what are we talking to people about right now, I guess? And that's like, to dovetail into this discussion, that's going to be the most important part of this.
Yeah.
We're trying to build sub pages that have specific like subtopics to the wastewater. And the only page that people are going to really care about is the household and business page, which shows you how much it's going to cost you to connect and what your betterments are going to be and what the process is and whatnot. We're not there yet, obviously. But right now we've built 4 different sub pages. The one obviously that you'd care the most about is the local economy. So here we talk about the decaying commercial, tax levy and how we're relying more and more on a residential property tax, and talking about the stuff that you guys already know about through the UMass Donahue Institute report that we anticipate through wastewater funding, that we're going to hopefully try to reverse some of this decline in the commercial tax base. So, I can send it to you so you have a little more chance to look at it in like a PDF form. But the idea is some text explaining, exactly why we're doing this from an economic perspective. And then there's some documents at the bottom where you can click on for more detail, like the UMass report and the SEDS report from the county and stuff like that. Obviously, the most important topic is health and environment. So that's first and foremost. So we got stuff on health and environment. So I worked with Bill Scott and the departments to get all this information. This is a lot of stuff that we've already shared with the public, but it's just kind of aggregating it all in one place. And we also have project management, which kind of shows how the project has evolved from the start, how it used to be DHY, now it's Y. We've been talking about this since 2011. And then here is all the phase map and all the technical engineering stuff. And then the last one is
One point though, I can go back and you can get back to it after you finish, is that have we identified the types of businesses that are going to benefit or unlock by this wastewater treatment?
That's exactly what we
What
just
we
funded.
just
That's what that,
There's nothing that was done in preparation for this, we're aware of, okay.
Yeah, we just
We
funded
just-
it.
we
to set
just-
the
No, I
base.
understand that, but I kind of think I know what the answer is, but.
yeah, and we
We
kind of
can-
think we know what the answer is too, but you need a consultant to, it gives you more credibility to have a third party say,
So what do you think the answer is?
well, I think we want the answer to be medical facilities and more often stuff like, Joe was talking about, where it's not high users of the wastewater system, but are gonna use a lot of data maybe, and they're gonna bring in remote work and stuff like that.
And my issue that there are gonna be buildings that are gonna be greater than 10,000 square feet, it's gonna trigger the Cape Cod Commission, and it's gonna
Oh,
put a
yeah.
damper on it. So I think we need to, this organization, this group needs to read, when that information comes in.
Yep.
Revisit the, what is it, whatever
It's the GIZ
the GIZ.
The GIZ,
And
which
the
forgives
provisions,
us,
and the provisions under
that
that.
gets us out of the 10,000 square feet.
Yeah, but those conditions were linked to mostly, as I recall, hotels. And
Yep.
if we need
They
to,
are.
Yep.
if we make
It's
that
You need to
shift.
make
turning
the measurement.
hotels
Yeah,
into
That's a
housing,
very good
basically.
point, Maria.
Who's
a very good
consulting
point.
with you, Who's the project management?
Oh.
Who's the OPM? Is that?
GHD, Weston and Sampson.
No, it is not. Is it Westminster?
No,
It's not. And it's not,
Forget. I can get you the answer though.
CDM is very good. I mean, they have a good group. of
yeah, they're
wastewater
the design group.
Yeah.
The OPM is Pierce.
Might be,
Pearson?
I think
Pe-
Pierce.
Pier-
Yeah, I think
Begins with a P.
So one thing I might suggest you think about adding to this section would be the funding sources in terms of grants via the SRF that you
Yeah.
can achieve until we have a design. The Cape and Islands Water Protection Trust.
Yeah, yeah.
The hundreds of millions that the EPA just added to the SRF program is going to be dramatic over the next 5 years.
Yeah, there's going to be a financing page that's built. To your point, we could probably have some interim stuff put on there in the meantime. But we also haven't really, there's not a whole lot of grants that we've obtained yet. So it's like, we would just put up a page that says like, there are grants out there that we're hoping to get
Well,
basically.
if the
you know?
goal is to get it past the design work at town meeting, if we don't achieve a final design, we can't access any of that money. And all the other towns already have their
Yep.
hands out.
Yep.
So,
I think Ramondo just gave away $22 million to some community for wastewater.
Who?
Gina Ramondo,
Oh,
out of her
secretary.
EDC fund,
Yeah.
EDC funding, which I didn't think that was, but EDC funding for.
Hmm.
Anyway, so
Right.
we were taking over your report.
Oh, no, that's okay. That's all right.
I would lean on the health aspects of this thing, because it trigger why this is happening. Right?
Mhm.
I mean, we know we gotta do it, but the health aspect, you can't hide it. Right? The environmental aspects, I guess. is what I'm-
Yeah, the last
Agree with
page
There
was
is a-
just
there
the
is-
state and federal requirements as to, again, why we're doing this. You know, there's not really an option to do nothing. That's kind of what this page
Mhm.
says. And talk about all the lawsuits here, all the articles, Barnstable and Mashpee getting sued, Charter Hall, septic system installations and stuff like that.
So
So,
one of the other suggestions that came up in our office is, I know this sounds silly for those of us that know all these acronyms, but people have asked for like a glossary. What does DIF stand for? Like all these acronyms that we throw out there, the common person doesn't even
Right.
understand what is a betterment, right? So I don't know if that would be something to consider.
No, it's a-
Because we're asking our residents to read this, and I think some of it,
And betterment actually has a very technical term when it comes to what shows up on your bill, your tax bill too. So, and it is a shocker. Actually, like heart stopping. So.
Dwayne?
Oh, that's it for me. We haven't had a planning board meeting, other than meeting with the Board of Selectmen to, again, present the articles at town meeting. So, and we've gone through that with you guys.
So I had the occasion of attending the last, this committee's representative to the design review committee, attending its last meeting last week. And the topic of discussion was 110-foot pole. How is wireless communication? Dwayne and I have been talking a little bit about it. In my opinion, I think the blue sky, the representative for the wireless communication companies, is going through the permitting process. And I think they're going through the permitting process with the thought that the least path is the best path. Least resistance is the best path. What I mean by that is part of the analysis they had to provide to the design review committee was what are the alternative sites for putting this pole. With 110 feet, look at that. It's going to go, their proposal is to go next to the church at the corner of Forest and 28, you got the church. It's a little strip of land as you're looking at the church, it's a little strip of land on the left. 110 feet in the air and it hanging off of that are 7-foot panels, 4 foot wide, 7 feet long. One 18 feet goes up first and then it goes down the pole to a tree line. Their alternative site analysis consisted of 8 different sites, 6 of which, if I'm stating this correctly, you can correct me if I'm wrong. They sent out a certified letter and they had no response back to the certified letter, so that site was no good. It could have been a great site, and we quizzed them on that. And then ended up going with the site that's owned by the Catholic Church. So we pushed back the representative on the committee from the planning board, Chris,
Yeah, Chris Vincent.
He was good.
Yeah, he's very good.
We sent out a letter back in December, and you guys never responded to it, and so I took that initiative and just came down the road a little bit more, saying, hey, why don't you look at other sites? Have you considered other locations like Buck Island or fire department location or a DPW site? And their attitude was, no, this is the best location for us because it gives us the perfect sight line for our next cell tower, which is down the street a half a mile. So it was all this, let's just go through it. We have no design review, we have no regulatory power to it. We just gave a name to it. But I think we did leave them with a message that you gotta come back to us because we're not sending off any approval process here at all as far as do we like the design or comment on the design, what have you, until you come back with some, at least some ideas of how you might camouflage it better if they have to stay at that location. But we did press them on, look at some other sites, contact the administration here in the town and ask them about sites that the town owns that might be not necessarily better for them, but they compromise a little bit on the site that they're going to and achieve what they want to achieve. So they're going to come back to us in another point. But the next stop is going to be at the ZBA. And I know we want to promote economic development, but damn it, all the work that you've done on the visioning process, all the work that you're trying to do on with the team of Congress, to put it on a commercial spine in this town, it just defeats everything that people working on this table and others in the community are trying to do. So,
What are the church representatives? Are they present?
No, the Archdiocese of Fall River leased this land. It's a lease in 2015 or so. And the original proposal, Kathy Williams has a picture of it, looked like a very tall 50-foot or so like gas station sign on two pillars and then a box at the top. And they were going to disguise it as something religious. Well, but they have the lease, the Archdiocese. They have a long-term lease with the Archdiocese. And
Say something to Father John?
Well, I
Is he
just
even
wondered-
aware?
Well,
the parishioners might think when they come to
well,
church
the
and-
interesting interlocking kind of director here is Dick Neitz is the real estate broker for the Archdiocese. And I don't know whether he was involved in this deal or not, but he had written a letter opposing it to the Cape Cod Commission and presented it at the time when Kathy and I were presenting as well. And that probably may cause some concern because he's also a member of the ZBA and he may have to recuse himself from it. But he has a connection to the Archdiocese and we're just not sure. We were just completely unsuccessful with the Cape Cod Commission. They didn't want to fight this battle at all.
Yeah,
But they're going to be, we're just the first one. Every town's going to have this happening to them. And it's all about the location. I mean, you come down 28 and it is boom. It's going to be big. It's an 11-story building,
Yeah.
11-story stick.
No, you can't.
And across the street is a 90-foot
Right.
stick right behind the post office.
Right.
That's a concealed wireless monopole. The thing that looks like a flagpole.
Right.
That is a wireless antenna, wireless
They have the antenna-
concealed wireless,
Yeah, they have the antennas
pole.
inside the pole.
Yeah.
Right, they disguise, right.
and it's got a little flagpole top on it, and that's 90 feet.
Right. Yeah.
So there are ways to, anyway, it's been a long battle.
I did sense there was a little sliver of hope there that they are going to look at another location in earnest. Because they did mention there might be another location that might be not as good as this one, but would suffice in meeting all their objectives as far as communication.
Yeah.
So we can only hope to see what they come
Yeah,
back with.
we're at a terrible disadvantage because they start talking about range and coverage and all these technical.
And you just
How
have to
do I
assume
know?
that
How
they
do
know
I
what they're
know
talking
whether or
about.
not the range is right? No one in town hall can, even though there was a consultant. Anyway,
Well,
so-
keep it posted.
Learn something new
Yeah, I need to watch to when it goes to ZBA though.
Right.
We need to be
yeah,
very
keep us
careful to
posted
watch
on
it.
that.
Yeah, sure.
But they gotta come back to us first. They said they would do that. With some ways of disguising it and also alternative sites. Put a real effort into it at least.
Yeah.
And so when that happens, I'll keep you all apprised of what goes on. And I just don't think it's the location part, but that's it for me.
Nothing for me, no.
Nothing else. Anyone else? Joe or Joe? Maria?
Oh, actually, it's just a thought though, about to subsidize the water connection. Maybe there's something we could do like Solarize Plus. You know, to go out to a group, a bid, but that's probably come under the purview of, you know, the estate. But, you know,
I'm not sure what you,
Well, like,
I'm not sure
so-
the connection you made.
because I was thinking of myself in Andover when I had to
Oh.
connect to the sewer. But I was saying perhaps we can do it as a community effort and then identify certain contractors, which would again be able to establish a fixed price
Oh,
for
I see what
people
you're
to
saying.
connect.
Yeah.
Anyway, I know, totally off topic, but I just.
Yeah,
thought
no,
of
no,
that,
I
and
get it
so-
now. That's a great idea.
And I'm
yeah.
getting old, so you don't expect me to remember stuff. So that's what I'm saying. But anyway, when the time comes up, I'm gonna jot that down. So, but that,
All right,
all I
so
have.
nothing else? Yeah,
Motion to adjourn?
second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye, aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
all.
So